Welcome back to my channel, sports fans. Okay, let's get into this one right here. This is part two of Michael Jordan's watered down league expansion. And like FYF Sports likes to say, he doesn't hold it against Jordan. He had to play who was in front of him. Okay, and he's a LeBron nut hugger. FYF Sports Debate, whack channel. So the first one I made responding to him was Jordan's watered down expansion era, and we went back and looked at it. It was a joke. Go look at that video. We showed how the 80's was watered down because all the competition was on three teams: the Pistons, the Lakers, and the Celtics, who had 4 to 5 Hall of Famers on one team throughout the 80's. On one team. These teams were making the Western Conference Finals, Eastern Conference Finals, and still getting the number one pick in the draft. Wow. What's up with that? Something ain't right. So we won't dwell on that. What we want to dwell on today is, they say that Pippen was this great player and he was so much of a help to Michael Jordan, carried Michael Jordan since he came in the league in 87, 88. And we'll just look at how much help Michael Jordan actually had in all NBA teams, because we all know we can't put up all-stars. We did that the other day, and we saw that Michael Jordan only had one all-star teammate, if any, throughout the 90's, while these other teams had 2 to 3. So let's go ahead and get into this. And what I want to do is I want to start from when Pippen came in the league in 88 and go through the 90's when Jordan actually played with Pippen. Let's see who had the most help, right? And we could talk about these all NBA teams. So in 88, it was only 2 teams. So the first team: Charles Barkley, Larry Bird, Hakeem, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Karl Malone, Dominique Wilkins, Patrick Ewing, John Stockton, and Clyde Drexler. So off top, what do we see? John Stockton and Karl Malone and John Stockton have 2 All-NBA players on the same team. Where's Michael Jordan's All-NBA player in 88, or a teammate? Where's he at? We're going to dissect this thing so good and so well, we're going to have these fools looking silly. Now, what I will tell you in this video, if you don't see the year pop up that I'm talking about on the All-NBA team, it's going to pop up. It's kind of a little slow. So if we go to the next year, it don't pop up on the screen. Give it a minute. It will pop up on the screen, as I will touch on it and show you that the amount of help that Michael Jordan had was basically a joke compared to a lot of these other teams, especially in the 90's on All-NBA teams. So this is the only way we can really judge it, right? A lot of people say, oh, the All-Stars just, that's popular. It is, somewhat. So we're going to stay on the All-NBA. 89, the first year, they did 3 teams. So first team: Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, Hakeem, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson. Second team: Chris Mullin, Tom Chambers, Patrick Ewing, John Stockton, Kevin Johnson. Third team: Terry Cummings, Dominique Wilkins, Robert Parrish, Dale Ellis, and Mark Price. Right? So we see automatically that the Suns have 2 and the Jazz have 2. There we go again with the Jazz. The good old Plumber team. Wow. The Jazz have 2. In Phoenix, Tom Chambers. Y'all don't know nothing about this dude. Kevin Johnson, who should be a Hall of Famer, and Tom Chambers should be a Hall of Famer. It was 2 on that Phoenix Suns team. 2. Where's Pippen? We done went through 2 seasons already, and I do not see Scottie Pippen. And he had an opportunity to make a third team. Remember, this is the guy that carried Jordan over the hump and got him out the first round of the playoffs. And he hasn't even made an all-star team yet. Wow. What's up with that? What's up with that? Can anybody say something? Where's he at? This great Scottie Pippen. So let's look at this list right here. 1990. First team: Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, Patrick Ewing, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson. Go Magic Johnson again. The second team: Larry Bird, Tom Chambers. There he is again. Hakeem Olajuwon, John Stockton, Kevin Johnson, there you go again. 13, Chris Mullin, James Worthy, David Robinson, Joe Dumars, and Clyde Drexler. Where is Pippen? Has anybody seen Pippen? Where is all this help from Michael Jordan? So the Jazz, with Karl Malone and John Stockton again, have two All-NBA players. The Lakers, Magic Johnson and James Worthy, I thought they were finished. You guys said they were old and tired coming into the 90s. And again, Tom Chambers and Kevin Johnson are on this team. I'm trying to tell you, this is 1990. These guys should be Hall of Famers. These guys were doing it big in Phoenix way before Charles Barkley arrived. Way before. That's nuts. But they don't want to put Kevin Johnson in the Hall of Fame or Tom Chambers. Oh, you don't want to up the ante on Michael Jordan's competition, right? But you want to put Chauncey Billups in there, right? I mean, well deserved. But it should be other players in there, like Tom Chambers, like Kevin Johnson, like what's his name? Sean Kemp. Come on, man. So we done got to 1990 and we haven't seen a Scottie Pippen sighting. Now he did make the All-Star team this year because Larry Bird, what I think Larry, no, I don't think it was. I think Dominique Wilkins might have been hurt this year. 1991. Let's look at this. First team: Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, David Robinson, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson. Second team: Chris Mullin, Dominique Wilkins, Patrick Ewing, Clyde Drexler, Kevin Johnson. Third team: Bernard King, James Worthy, Hakeem Olajuwon, Joe Dumars, and John Stockton. There we go again. So John Stockton, the Utah Jazz, with Karl Malone, John Stockton again. Huh. James Worthy and Magic Johnson again. And what you will see from Patrick Ewing will be consistent, always on these All-NBA teams throughout the late 80s in the 90s. Patrick Ewing, to me, the greatest big man shooter of all time in the 90s. He just was. Had the softest touch ever around the rim from in the mid-range. He didn't need to be in the paint bullying people like Shaq. He didn't need to do that. And if they shot the three-pointer back then like they do now, trust me, Patrick Ewing would adapt and could shoot that three. I haven't seen a big man that was 7 foot shoot like Patrick Ewing consistently every single game. It don't matter where he was inside that arc and outside that paint. He was hitting it. Softest touch I ever seen. That's why you're always going to see consistently Patrick Ewing, basically with no All-NBA teammates. He might have had him in the late 90s, maybe 98 or something. No, maybe like in 99. But by the time then, his knees were shot. He was gone. You got to remember, Patrick Ewing hustled. He was playing all around the court. Offense, defense, mid-range shots, hustling for the ball. So by the time about 90, I would say 6, his knees were really bad. But to me, Patrick Ewing is the greatest shooting big man I've ever seen. Better than Joel Embiid. '92. First team, Chris Mullin, Karl Malone, David Robinson, Michael Jordan, Clyde Drexler. Second team, Charles Barkley, Scottie Pippen. There you go. Patrick Ewing, Tim Hardaway, John Stockton. Third team, Dennis Rodman. This is for the Pistons, though. Remember, Kevin Willis, Brad Daugherty, Kevin Johnson again, and Mark Price. So the Bulls have 2 with Scottie Pippen and Jordan. The Golden State Warriors have 2 with Chris Mullin and Tim Hardaway. Cleveland has 2 with Mark Price and Brad Daugherty. Jordan wasn't playing nobody in that East. And I think who was it? Larry Nance. I think he was an All-Star this year in '92. And of course, The Utah Jazz have two: John Stockton and Karl Malone. Oh boy, of course. But Michael Jordan had all this help. You might not think that Scottie Pippen was a better player than John Stockton when this is all over. You probably want to rethink what you've been thinking about. And look at Chris Mullin, just a better player than Pippen. He shoot Pippen's eyes out. Um, you'll see these guys rotate: the Hakeems, the Charles Barkleys, and the Patrick Ewings, and the David Robinsons. That's how great that era was with the big man. 93. 93. On first team. Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, Hakeem Olajuwon, Michael Jordan, Mark Price. Second team, Larry Johnson, Dominique Wilkins, of course, Patrick Ewing, Joe Dumars, John Stockton, of course. Third team, Derek Coleman, Scottie Pippen, David Robinson, Tim Hardaway, and Drazen Petrovic. So on the Nets, they got two: Drazen Petrovic and Derek Coleman. On the Bulls, they got two: Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan. And of course, the Jazz have two with Karl Malone and John Stockton, the plumbing crew, right? So how did Scottie Pippen get the third team? He got beat out by Larry Johnson, Dominique Wilkins, Charles Barkley, and Karl Malone. He got beat out by those guys. So he went from second team in his first ever appearance to the next season all the way to third team. And I'm going to tell you guys a secret when we're about done with this. I'll tell you a secret about Scottie Pippen and how good he really wasn't. Because we all know what we've been told. Michael Jordan is the only person that was allowed to have help. And the help he had was the least amount of help out of all the championship teams, really. That, what do you want to call them? That were dynasties. Had the least amount of help out of any dynasty team. So 96, like I said, I'm only going when Michael Jordan played. I don't care about what Pippen made when Michael Jordan was out. Good for him. He's a good player. So 96, Pippen, wow, he makes the first team with Karl Malone, David Robinson, Michael Jordan, Anthony Hardaway. Second team, Grant Hill, Shawn Kemp, Hakeem, Gary Payton, John Stockton. Third team, Charles Barkley, Juwan Howard, Shaq, Reggie Miller, and Mitch Richmond. So, you believe this? Orlando had two with Shaq and Anthony Hardaway, but Shaq made a third team and Anthony Hardaway made a first. Wow. So this is the first time I don't see Patrick Ewing on here, right? So the Bulls had two, Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan. The Sonics had two with Gary Payton and Shawn Kemp. And of course, the Jazz had two with John Stockton and Karl Malone. Wow. I'm not too sure. Michael Jordan rather had John Stockton than Scottie Pippen. I'm serious. You guys say this was a plumber team? Wow. And let me tell you this. We can see Shaq 2 years in a row already that he done made the All-NBA team. Guess where he's at? Number 3. He's on the third team. The most dominant player of all time. Wow, could you imagine that? The most dominant player of all time. First time he makes the All-NBA team. The first 2 times is on the third team. Wow. Okay, so 97, Grant Hill, Karl Malone on the first team, Hakeem, Michael Jordan, Tim Hardaway, second team, Pippen, Glenn Rice, Patrick Ewing, back on it. Gary Payton, Mitch Richmond, third team Vin Baker, Anthony Mason, Shaq, Anthony Hardaway, and of course, John Stockton. So the Bulls have two with Pippen and Jordan. The Jazz have two, of course, with Stockton and Malone. And Charlotte has two with Anthony Mason. And who was this? Glenn Rice. Two great players. Y'all sleep on Anthony Mason, man. So the Bulls won't play nobody. Every time you turn around in the East, all these all NBA players, great NBA players. So how did Pippen get to number two? He got beat out by Grant Hill and Karl Malone. He was just number one. He was just on the first team in 96. What happened? In 96 was maybe his best year to me. 96 was maybe his best year. And he fell all the way to two? Because Grant Hill beat him out? What wasn't Grant Hill a rookie this season? I'm not sure. Maybe second season? He got beat out by Grant Hill? But, let me see. I think this is a year Grant Hill had the most votes. I'm not sure, but I thought one of them years he had the most votes. So let's look at this. 98. First team, Tim Duncan, Karl Malone, Shaquille O'Neal. There you go, Shaq. Finally. Michael Jordan, Gary Payton. Second team, Grant Hill, Vin Baker, David Robinson, Tim Hardaway, Rod Strickland, Scottie Pippen. We'll touch on that in a minute. Glenn Rice, Dikembe Mutombo, Reggie Miller, and Mitch Richmond. So the Bulls had two with Pippen and Jordan. The Sonics had two with Gary Payton and Vin Baker. And the Spurs had two with Tim Duncan and David Robinson. Finally, Stockton was not on this list. He had been on this list, I think, ever since it started in 88. And that's just where we started. Maybe he was on there before that. But Pippen is the third team on here. He got beat out by Grant Hill. Vin Baker of all people. Tim Duncan and Karl Malone for all NBA. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Vin Baker? And I know this season he was hurt. He didn't play all these games. And he didn't make the All-Star team. Now, if he didn't make the All-Star team, what the hell is he doing making the All-NBA team? Were they trying to be nice? Because the All-NBA team is an upper echelon of greatness for that season. So if he couldn't make an All-Star appearance, why was he on this team? So, has anybody seen all this advantage that Michael Jordan had? All this help? You tell me Dennis Rodman couldn't make a third team as a Chicago Bull. You're trying to tell me that Kukoc couldn't make a third team as a Chicago Bull. And both of these players never made an All-Star team in 3 seasons. When we went through the All-Star teams the other day, from 90 all the way to 98, Jordan was getting clowned. He only had one All-Star teammate to 0 through the 90s. You had teams with 2 to 3 to 4 All-Star players on one team. And Michael Jordan had all this help. See, when you actually look at the picture and go back and see what the hell these people are talking about and put it on the books and look at the books, you know these people like the Nick Rice, the Shannon Sharps, the Chris Broussards. I'll tell you, he's a LeBron nut hugger. The Rob Parkers, so-and-so. The Stephen A. Smiths, he apologized for LeBron a lot. Where's all this help that Michael Jordan had? And I'm talking about Scottie Pippen in a minute, but when you take what LeBron had, check it out now. You aren't told about this. He went to other teams and got their number one franchise players, top five in the draft. So 1 through 5, they were number one franchise players of other teams. Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Kevin Love, AD, Kyrie Irving. He got all these guys in the peak of their powers, in their primes. And if you want to go with some, some veteran help, the Ben Wallaces, the Shaqs, the Antoine Jamesons, the Ray Allens. Can you tell me, when did Michael Jordan ever play with another team's number one franchise player? The only person I can remember is George Gervin. He was out the league the next season. This dude was old as dirt. He was out the league the next season. And they didn't even play together but a couple games in the regular season. The season when Jordan broke his foot. So let's address the Scottie Pippen thing in depth. If Dominique Wilkins never gets hurt and Larry Bird never gets hurt and plays until like 95, 96, Scottie Pippen never makes an All-NBA team, probably, or an All-Star appearance. He just doesn't. Because those are the guys that were stopping him from making All-Star appearances when he came into the league and All-NBA appearances. Dominique Wilkins, Larry Bird, Karl Malone, and Charles Barkley. If all four of those guys stayed playing until 95, 96, it would not look good for Pippen. He needed, I ain't saying he wanted, but it so happened that Bird got hurt and that Dominique Wilkins got hurt. So that's why Scottie Pippen, even though he started becoming a good player, but that's why he started making these All-NBA teams and All-Star teams. And you can see on the All-NBA teams, once Dominique Wilkins comes back, Pippen starts to drop down. When a Grant Hill comes in the picture, Pippen starts to drop down. Pippen was a good player, but he was not these guys. He was no Kobe Bryant. He wasn't a Dwayne Wade. He wasn't a Kyrie Irving. Kyrie, Bosh, Love, and AD made more All-Star appearances than Scottie Pippen. In the 6 championships that the Bulls won, Scottie Pippen only made the All-Star team 4 times. And if I'm not mistaken, let me see. Not 90, 92, 93, 96, 97. 93, 96, 97. So, Pippen, I think he made the All-Star teams 5 times, while Jordan in Pippen played together. So you guys tell me what you think, man. I don't see where all this help is. To me, it looked like John Stockton should be a top 15 player. Pippen, I think he made the All-Star teams 5 times, while Jordan and Pippen played together. So you guys tell me what you think, man. Just, I don't see where all this help is. To me, it looked like John Stockton should be a top 15 player. I mean, he's just consistently on that All NBA, like a Michael Jordan, like a Karl Malone, and he should be an all-time top 15 player. And doesn't have a championship because of Michael Jordan, and a lot of players don't. So, you guys tell me what you think. Kyrie, Bosh, Love, and AD made more All-Star appearances than Scottie Pippen. In the 6 championships that the Bulls won, Scottie Pippen only made the All-Star team 4 times. And if I'm not mistaken, let me see. Not 90, 92, 93, 96, 97. So Pippen, I think he made the All-Star teams 5 times while Jordan and Pippen played together. So you guys tell me what you think, man. Just, I don't see where all this help is. To me, it looked like John Stockton should be a top 15 player. I mean, he's just consistently on that All NBA, like a Michael Jordan, like a Karl Malone, and he should be an all-time top 15 player. And doesn't have a championship because of Michael Jordan, and a lot of players don't. So, you guys tell me what you think. Kyrie, Bosh, Love, and AD made more All-Star appearances than Scottie Pippen. In the 6 championships that the Bulls won, Scottie Pippen only made the All-Star team 4 times. And if I'm not mistaken, let me see. Not 90, 92, 93, 96, 97. So Pippen, I think he made the All-Star teams 5 times while Jordan and Pippen played together. So you guys tell me what you think, man. Just, I don't see where all this help is. To me, it looked like John Stockton should be a top 15 player. I mean, he's just consistently on that All NBA, like a Michael Jordan, like a Karl Malone, and he should be an all-time top 15 player. And doesn't have a championship because of Michael Jordan, and a lot of players don't. So, you guys tell me what you think. Kyrie, Bosh, Love, and AD made more All-Star appearances than Scottie Pippen. In the 6 championships that the Bulls won, Scottie Pippen only made the All-Star team 4 times. And if I'm not mistaken, let me see. Not 90, 92, 93, 96, 97. So Pippen, I think he made the All-Star teams 5 times while Jordan and Pippen played together. So you guys tell me what you think, man. Just, I don't see where all this help is. To me, it looked like John Stockton should be a top 15 player. I mean, he's just consistently on that All NBA, like a Michael Jordan, like a Karl Malone, and he should be an all-time top 15 player. And doesn't have a championship because of Michael Jordan, and a lot of players don't. So, you guys tell me what you think. Kyrie, Bosh, Love, and AD made more All-Star appearances than Scottie Pippen. In the 6 championships that the Bulls won, Scottie Pippen only made the All-Star team 4 times. And if I'm not mistaken, let me see. Not 90, 92, 93, 96, 97. So Pippen, I think he made the All-Star teams 5 times while Jordan and Pippen played together. So you guys tell me what you think, man. Just, I don't see where all this help is. To me, it looked like John Stockton should be a top 15 player. I mean, he's just consistently on that All NBA, like a Michael Jordan, like a Karl Malone, and he should be an all-time top 15 player. And doesn't have a championship because of Michael Jordan, and a lot of players don't. So, you guys tell me what you think. Kyrie, Bosh, Love, and AD made more All-Star appearances than Scottie Pippen. In the 6 championships that the Bulls won, Scottie Pippen only made the All-Star team 4 times. And if I'm not mistaken, let me see. Not 90, 92, 93, 96, 97. So Pippen, I think he made the All-Star teams 5 times while Jordan and Pippen played together. So you guys tell me what you think, man. Just I don't see where all this help is. To me, it looked like John Stockton should be a top 15 player. I mean, he's just consistently on that All NBA, like a Michael Jordan, like a Karl Malone, and he should be an all-time top 15 player. And doesn't have a championship because of Michael Jordan, and a lot of players don't. So you guys tell me what you think.